Hi, this is Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. I want to deal with influence today and the topic under influence, how to manage or influence followers. We want to speak about that just for a moment today. And the overall topic that we're dealing with is to deal with church leadership and the influence thereof that comes with church leadership. And I want to embark on this topic today. And as I speak about this today, I want to just focus on influence and how to influence followers. Because that's very, very important that as you lead the church, as you are a leader of a ministry, you understand that you are going to need to influence the people that are following you. But you need to know what the influence is all about, and that will be helping you to be able to impact and make sure that there's a progress in the church that you are leading. And as Church Governance Solutions, we want to embark on that because that will help you as the leaders. And I know that there are many churches that would have leaders, pastors, apostles, evangelists, prophet, or maybe teachers out of the fivefold ministries. But you have also elders that you have around you that are helping you to lead the church. And because of that, it is very important that we look at this topic of church leadership, but then speak about influence specifically so that we can understand how to influence people. Now, today I just want to outline what is influence. I want to just to outline what is influence, and of course, also I will speak about influencing followers before we continue with other parts of this. Now, influence involves moving people to change their thinking and ultimately their behavior. You actually influence the people's thinking. You make sure that they move around their thinking and change their minds in order to change their behavior as well. That's what we call influence. Now, there are several ways that leaders accomplish this type of influence that we're speaking about, which will help us a little bit to define influence a bit more. Now, the first thing is what we call persuasion. And the persuasion, I'm sure you would understand what persuasion is. It's one of the ways that leaders influence their followers. That's through persuasion. This is the primary way to influence people, and persuasion is actually the main way or the primary way of influencing people. And you will remember that Paul and spoke about this when he talks about influencing, because also in the Bible you realize that Paul was influencing the younger ones like Timothy, and every time when he was actually teaching people, he was teaching them about influence because he himself had been influenced by Christ himself when he accepted him as a personal savior. And you'll realize that also as a leader, you would have been influenced by the teachings of Christ. You would have been persuaded by them as well in order for you to follow Christ himself. And by so doing, you'll realize that it gives you a way of understanding that in church, we normally lead people by persuasion, or we influence people by persuasion. Now, this is very, very important that we understand that persuasion becomes very, very important. Now, there's a way also of influencing people through what we call encouragement. Now, David sought to encourage Joab by sending him directions on how to win a battle, even though it was for a bad cause. In the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 11, verse 25, you'll realize that there are times where you influence people by encouraging them. When you encourage people, you are making them to actually follow a certain way of doing things because they are being encouraged to do so. So it's one way also of influencing by encouraging people. Now, there's this other way of influencing people is by godly example. And I want to emphasize that because that's the main thing, that as a leader, particularly in church, you need to influence people by godly example. That's how you live. That's how you follow God. And that's how Paul says, follow me as I follow Christ. And this is the way actually to influence people. Because people believe in what they see generally than what they hear. And majority of leaders Of course, they would love people to listen to what they're saying and therefore fail to show it by example. And I want to emphasize the fact that the easiest way to influence people is to live by example. Because when you do that, you'll realize that even in the writer of Hebrews, he will tell, he tells the readers to consider the outcome of their leadership's lifestyle and to imitate their faith as well. And you find that in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 7. It emphasizes the fact that you must actually look at the leaders of the church, their lifestyle, follow them as well. They must live an exemplary life that people will follow based on the example that they are. Very, very important. I want us to embark on influencing followers and speak a little bit about influencing followers today. Because this is very, very important that as a leader in church, you need to influence the followers. They need to know how to follow because you would have influenced them. The key to influence is the leadership style. And remember that the leadership style that you adopt is the one that will be the key basically to make the people follow or to be able to influence the people. Because every leader has got their own style to lead. And we are not the same. In different churches, you'll realize that different pastors will be leading their churches in a different manner. They would not lead the same way. So every leader, therefore, has got their own style of influence, their own style of leadership that has an impact on their own people. So the different styles have got impact in a different way. So therefore, it is actually based on the particular pastor on what style you're using. So it is important that leaders correctly perceive how they influence their followers. So as an individual, as a pastor, as an apostle, whoever the leader you are in the church, you must be able to perceive the ways that your people respond to you, the ways that you are able to influence the people. And that's very, very key because influencing followers should actually be intentionally be done by the leader who knows how they influence their people. Now, this section and the next will explain the concept as we speak right now. I want to emphasize the fact that I want to explain the concept of leadership because it consists essentially of two general kinds of behavior, and task and relationship. Now, I want to speak about task and relationship because that's the main things that are very, very important in leadership that influence people. Task behavior focuses on the accomplishment of one or two goals or several goals. So you realize that when we speak about the task, we're speaking about influencing people through a task of allocation that you allocate them to do. And there's some tasks that you allocate them, there's a work that you want them to do, there's a goal that you want to achieve, but then you allocate the people to do that. And for an example, would be Paul's life mission. That's an example of that. That how he says, however, I consider my life worth nothing to me, if only I may finish the race and complete the task the Lord Jesus has given me. And the task of testifying to the gospel of God's grace. And that's actually in the book of Acts chapter 20, verse 24. He says the task at hand is the one that is driving him. Now, as a leader, you may influence the people through the task, whereby you allocate people tasks and they do tasks and they follow the task and they are actually related to the task, and that's how you influence them. And I've spoken about relationship behavior as well, which is the second way of influencing people, the relationship, how you relate with them. Now, relational behavior focuses on how people relate to themselves and others. And therefore, you actually align the people to relate, how they relate with you as a leader and how they relate with others. And that becomes impactful because that's very, very important that you look at the relationship that they have amongst themselves. You look at the relationship that they have with you, relationship that you have with them. That becomes very, very important, that it gives a direction of how then do you influence the people. You influence them through relationships. Very, very important. Now, I want to also mention that these two kinds, which is task and behavior, they are separate and they're independent. And sometimes you find that you can use one or another. They are not actually the same. You cannot use them conjunctively the same as well, or at the same place. So use them differently, and there are different types of of ways to use them. So therefore, remember that they are totally independent and they are very different as well. So remember that the relational behavior, which I also discussed a bit earlier in when I was speaking about task and relationship, values the concerns and needs of the people. Now, a relationship always will value the concerns of the people, their relationship, and who needs what. And so, therefore, they meet each other's needs. Therefore, they consider the one who needs something that because they're relating, they would know and they would actually support each other that way. The same with you as a leader. You would actually know the needs of the people and meet them, and all the people will communicate their needs to you as well. Now, value of the concerns of the needs of the people is very, very important in relationship. Such activities in building camaraderie, whereby people relate even much more better when you are influencing them through relationship. So they relate better, they are actually having unity amongst them, there's a good energy between themselves and so on. And majority of the leaders, they make sure that this type of style of leading is actually used in many churches where unity is being promoted, and majority of the churches are successful because of that. And you find that they do things together. They have picnics, for instance. They've got camps. They do conferences together, and therefore what it does, it actually also improves what we call support to each other. And majority of the churches, if you want to lead churches with relationship type of a style, you are going to see your people relating closely, whereby they will support each other. If one of them has got death in their family, or they've lost a loved one, the support won't be difficult actually to garner and to bring people together to go and support the other, because they're relating anyway. They're very close to each other. That's very, very important, because they're able to develop trust amongst each other as well in the church, and they are developing teams, and they are having teams that they're working together. And sometimes these teams are beyond church departments. It's beyond the departments that you have, whereby they're having teams themselves, where they are actually meeting beyond the church prescribed meetings, which is very, very key. They're able to motivate each other. And I must also emphasize that when you are running a church like that, you are able to motivate the people as well. The followers are getting motivated. They're motivating themselves as well amongst each other with the teams. And that is actually helping the church to grow even bigger. Now, ministry, if you want to provide a good ministry, introduce relationship among the people. Let people relate. Let them be united. Let them be one. Let them work together in the ministry, because what will happen, as I said, they'll support each other when they're going through even difficult times. And that support amongst each other, what it does is actually building what we call biblical community. Well, that's what we call a congregation, not only just to congregate on a certain day, but these are the people that are related to each other. And that is what we call biblical community. It's prompting interpersonal relationships amongst them, making them to know each other by name. And of course, that's the influence that you want to see when you want to influence the followers. And counseling becomes very, very easy. And those that are in need of counseling, they're being counseled much more easily without any problem. And there's a lot of direction in your counseling. Now, comforting the distressed is very, very important, and it's easy to do so when you have actually instilled in the church relationships where people are relating with each other and they're encouraging each other. Those that are discouraged are being encouraged as well, and many other biblical functions. And I must actually emphasize that it is therefore very, very important as a leader to drive this type of way of influencing the people, relationship type of influencing people. And as you do so, you are able actually to get the best out of your church. I want to end up here today, your host, Micornus Phokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and being part of this topic. We will continue tomorrow, and I hope that you'll join us as we deal with another topic tomorrow of leadership. May the good Lord bless you. Remember to check us out at our Facebook page, Micornus Phokane, Facebook page, Church Governance Solutions. Like those pages. Remember our YouTube channel as well. And click notification button and like those. And make sure that you also subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow us soon. And I believe that you will learn out of that. And the good Lord will bless you as you do that. I'm done. Check out right here. And I say cheers for now.